Greetings, fellow action figure connoisseurs, and welcome to another episode of Digital Caveman Presents Masters of the Universe Tuesday. I, as always, am your host, the Digital Caveman, and today I will be presenting you with the Masters of the Universe Masterverse New Adventures of He-Man Skeletor. Let's get into it! Let's start our evil time-jumping shenanigans with a look at the packaging. And here on the top, got a barcode with no numbers. Masterverse, that nice artwork for the packaging that we have come to know and love. 6 and up, nice big window showcasing Skeletor and his accessories. The New Adventures of He-Man logo, Skeletor, Mattel. On the bottom, this, that, the other, symbols I'm not going to learn, a question mark, and a barcode, and a weird number. How about that? On this side, Skeletor. And on this side, some nice, lovely, great artwork of that New Adventure Skeletor. And then here's some more nice artwork of New Adventure Skeletor just being totally BA. And some kind of skull planet in the background. And I'll go ahead and say I'm not all that familiar with the New Adventures of He-Man. It wasn't my thing. And here's all kinds of like Russian writing. I don't know. Target, where did you get this? Merman, Grizzlor, Buzzoff, and Faker are the cross sale, all of which I've covered already. So feel free to go back and check those guys out. Also available, of course. And it may vary. And then here's some small fine legalese print, made in Vietnam print. Mattel, empowering the next generation through play. And there it is again in another language. And that, my friends, is a look at the packaging. Let's take a look at the figure and his accessories. And here we have handy dandy tweezers. And first up, he does come with an extra set of hands, which are fists. All molded in color, I'm sure. And it does have nice molded details on it. It's on an in and out hinge. And I don't believe this is anything we haven't seen before. There's a left and a right one. Next up we have Skeletor's helmet. There we see a nice skull on there and some nice molded details. Again, I do believe this is all molded in color, and I'm not sure if this is a paint app or in the mold itself, but yeah, I see a scratch there, so that may be a paint app on the outside of it, just like a dry brush. Treatment, because it's on this side too, but it's different looking, like it's spread out over it a little better, but then you got a puddle there on the inside corner, and then over here looks like a little dry brushing as well. So all I have to say, it's a pretty good, cool looking helmet. Here we have his Havoc staff, and I have to say it looks pretty cool. Not necessarily classic, because it's not, you know, the ram's head. It's a skull instead, and much more technology based looking than magic based, but still is pretty cool. It's got some nice molded details down here as well, and then a blade at the end. So overall, that's a pretty cool Havoc version of the Havoc staff. Then we have the cape, which did come attached to the figure in the packaging, but I did take it off, and it's got this hoop here. It's similar to the Princess of Power She-Ra figure as far as the neck ring goes. I mean, it's not the same neck ring, it is different, but the way the cape works with the ring is pretty much the same as that. And again, it really Mattel could have used that like 5-cent worth of wire in this cape, especially with how small the area that it hooks onto the ring is compared to the size of the cape. So it's going to be hanging folded over like this a lot, rather than being able to do dynamic things with it. Now let's take a look at Skeletor himself. And I have to say, that face sculpt is pretty gnarly. And I'm not sure what's going on here. Like, maybe he grew some flesh back and then it got peeled back. That's kind of the feel I'm getting from this sculpt, and those eyes in there. Look at that red. And then this one, I'm not sure if that is supposed to be there or if it's a paint mishap. But it's almost like he's got a piece of a targeting reticle in there, but that's the only piece of it. So I'm assuming that it's a paint mistake or a print mistake. And the same over here on this side, you can see how it's kind of, I don't know if it got scratched or what. But other than that, I mean, this looks pretty cool. And then, like, it's got some blue spray on here for the flesh, I suppose. And then, you know, some wires going into his skull. And then his chest piece here, it is a separate piece, but it is not removable. It is glued into place. And you can see, I mean, it's like it's dug in. And he's got all kinds of silver paint apps here for these wires. And I really wish that would have carried over into the arms, just to kind of pull out the sculpt that's in there for it, to differentiate it from other Skeletors a little more. And then on the back of it, look, it's just flat on the back of his elbows. And then even on the back here, I really wish they would have gone through with the silver, or not necessarily silver, but this gunmetal, and just kind of put some paint apps on all of that, just to help it stand out more. But maybe it's supposed to be under the skin and it's bulging out, but that's not really the way that it looks. Then we've got this, and I can't tell if this is a paint amp or if this is molded in color. Nice little skull here, and nice little belt. Also these skulls here on the chest piece, and these nice painted details on here. And again, I really wish they'd have kind of gone in with the paint apps and just kind of painted all of that in. And like, well, there is a little paint app on these two buttons on either side of the skull on the belt. And then we've got these paint apps here, and there is a bit of an overspray on him as well. You can see it real good right here on the arms. I don't know if it's an overspray or dry brush or how they accomplish that, but it's there nonetheless. And then on the legs, but on the legs where it's done here and then where it's done on the rest of the leg, it doesn't quite match up. You can see it's like two different colors there. And then again, he's got some nice molded details of wires and stuff down here. And again, I do wish they'd have just added paint apps for that. And there's again that overspray or dry brush, whatever that is, down here at the top of the boots as well. Then we've got this paint app, and then all the rest of this appears to be molded in color. And again, with these wire details, if they'd have just went through and added that gunmetal paint app to it, I mean, this would have been a much cooler looking figure. Not that it's not cool looking now, but it would have been a lot better. And again, I'm a little disappointed with the eyes, even though they look cool, and you really have to look close to see how this one's messed up. This one kind of stands out a little bit, like he's got two pupils in there, so I may have to go in and try and fix that. I'm not sure. I'm not a paint dude, so let's take a look at his articulation. He can look up that high, he can look down that low, and of course the head is on a dumbbell with one ball at the top in the head and one in the neck. So that does give him some chicken neck. So party at future Skeletor's house. And it does give him a little bit of waggle in there. He can, of course, do the full exorcist. At the shoulder, arm comes out approximately, maybe a little less than 90 degrees. And a full 360 degree rotation there. 360 degree rotation at this cut as well. And then at the elbow, double hinge pinless, and it gives you that much bend. At the wrist, 360 degree rotation on and in and out hinge. And the other side is a 360 degree rotation on and up and down hinge. And I'm sure this is the same as the He-Man hands we've been getting, because this version of Skeletor doesn't have like the long claw fingernails. His hand is much more human shaped. Then we have the cut here where the chest and the abdomen meet, and it gives you a little bit of hula. You can lean back that far, lean forward this far. This chest piece does get in the way just a bit, and of course he can lean left and right, and 360 degree rotation at that cut as well. Now there's also a waist cut, and it's not on a ball or anything, it's just like a regular peg in there, and you get another 360 degree rotation there. He can give you that much of the splits at the hips, kicks forward that far, and I think this is the overlay here is getting in the way just a little bit, but not as much as you might think. And back about, we'll call that a half a step, I suppose. Cut at the upper thigh for another 360 degree rotation. Double hinged pinless knee, and it gives you that much bend. Also at the shin, top of the boot, there's a boot cut for another 360 degree rotation. At the ankle, and this one ankle, this is the only piece of this figure that I had to heat up to break loose. And at the ankle, he tilts down that far, or it tilts down that far. It tilts up this far, and it does have a forward-facing pin for rocker, but this piece of the boot does get in the way of that just slightly. Now, as far as getting all his get-ups on him, for the cape, you have to pop the head off, and just slip the cape over his neck, like so. Pop the head back on, easy peasy. Here's the helmet. Make sure that the skull piece there is facing forward, and just kind of push it down on his head. And move it around just a little bit to get it how you like it. That looks pretty good. And then, of course, his Havoc staff. Goes in his hand. And now he is prepared to lead mutants and take over the universe. It's time for my favorite part of a review, comparisons. And here we have a bunch of Masters of the Universe Masterverse figures. On the front row, the New Adventures of He-Man Skeletor and the New Adventures of He-Man He-Man. Then on the next row, we have the 1987 movie Skeletor, New Eternia Barbarian Skeletor, and Princess of Power Hordak. For our final set of comparisons, here we have the Masters of the Universe Masterverse New Adventures of He-Man Skeletor, with, from the Marvel Legends series, making his cameo appearance, Stan the Man Lee. From the G.I. Joe Classified series, the Hasbro Pulse exclusive Regal variant Cobra Commander. From Star Wars The Black Series, the Archive Edition 501st Legion Clone Trooper. And our final Masters of the Universe Masterverse comparison, the 40th Anniversary He-Man. For final thoughts on the Masters of the Universe Masterverse New Adventures of He-Man Skeletor, I have to say, I really liked this figure a lot more than I thought I was. I had a lot more fun posing him out and taking some photos of him. And if you follow me on Instagram, you know, one or two of those might be posted there. And I really enjoyed this figure a lot more than I thought I was going to. I was just, you know, basically I wanted to get him so that I would have the He-Man and the Skeletor. Because, you know, what's the He-Man without a Skeletor? And so it really surprised me how much I liked it. Now, that's not to say I like every single thing about it. I'm not that big a fan of this cape, the style on the neck ring, or whatever you might want to call it. And again, I'm going to harp on that old thing of, at this point, all soft goods should be wired. At this point, it should be a standard thing for action figures. And, you know, I mean, I do appreciate that they are making the cape soft goods so that, you know, you don't have those candy cones while you're trying to pose them out and stuff. And so I do appreciate that. But again, at this point, that type of soft good should be wired standard when you buy an action figure. And as many paint apps as this guy had, I'd still feel like he needed some more paint apps, especially on the back here. All those gizmos and stuff should have had some paint on, and then on the arms and legs, some wires that need some paint as well. And just to, you know, give it a more cool cybernetic aesthetic to it. I mean, it's already molded in there. Slap a few paint apps on it. Come on. But that's really all I'm gonna harp on those things about that. The head sculpt on this thing is phenomenal. The helmet is okay, and it looks nice on the figure, but you pull it off and you just like, it looks like the kind of like his flesh was peeled from his face, which is a bit gruesome, I suppose, but looks cool nonetheless on this figure. Well, that does it for the review. I hope that you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. Only support from viewers like you make this programming possible. Each view does count, and I do appreciate each and every single view that I receive. Thank you, and thank you so very, very much for supporting this channel through viewing. Comment below, like, share, subscribe if you'd like to see more reviews or just help the channel out further. Or both, that's even better. And don't forget to ding that bell so that in the future you will be notified as my new content becomes available. That's a wrap, folks. I'll see you next time.